Tonight I'm going to start a video series reviewing movies by asking questions you may not have thought about asking. And the first movie I'm going to review is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not the TV series, but the actual theatrical movie starring Christy Swanson and Luke Perry. And as you can see here, I have 3 pages of questions I'm going to ask about this movie. That's a lot of questions. I know they're all written in cursive, and it can be a little hard for me to read the questions, but we're going to go through this step by step, and this will cause you to think about the movies that you watch. Are you ready? Now, the movie starts in the distant past, and we have this young lady, and I presume she's a vampire slayer, okay? And in the movie, the first thing that's pointed out is that she's wearing a birthmark. She's wearing it? Think about this for a second. Okay, I thought she was born with this. I thought all the Slayers were born with these birthmarks. Okay? The birthmark is not like an article of clothing that you wear. Okay, this is a birthmark, for Pete's sake. She was born with it. So it's not exactly like she has a choice here. And why only one Slayer at a time? I'd like to know that one. I'd like to know that one too. And where were her parents? Back in those days, you didn't go out at night like that. It just didn't happen that way. And why was she allowed to carry a sword? Really? Back then? I don't think so. And we go into the modern day, alright? What was the final score at the basketball game? I'd like to know that one as well. What is the name of the mall? And how big is this mall? And how many stores does it have? Okay? And how much money do these young ladies in this movie have? I'm not kidding you. They're going shopping. They then go to the movies, and you'll find out what else they do later on in this particular video. Okay? Now, I wonder how many items of clothing were hanging in Buffy's closet that was actually made in El Salvador. She says, well, I don't know that much about El Salvador. Well, man, I bet some of that clothing was made over there. I can guarantee you that. And where's the usher in the movie? I'd like to know that. And why didn't Merrick say anything to Buffy when he first met Buffy at the elevator? I'd like to know that one too. And why didn't Pike find another seat? I would have. And what movie were they watching? Has anybody ever wondered about that? And where do Buffy's parents go on the weekends? And by the way, later on in the movie, Buffy's parents ask Buffy about the time. Really? In those days, even today you can do this, but in those days you could actually call up a service that would actually give you the time of day. Why ask Buffy? Like she'd know. I mean, you don't have that great a relationship with her in the first place, and you're expecting her to know the time of day? Really? And there were these guys in this car. They're driving down the drag strip there. They're looking at all these buildings, and they noticed the moon? Really? And their radio isn't blaring with music either? Yeah, right. And where are the security guards to stop the young man from walking through the park? I'd like to know that one too. And who in their right mind would call a neck wound a really gross hickey? Who would do that? What reporter would do that? What person would do that? I'd like to know that. And Buffy's parents are leaving, and they have no clue as to the name of Buffy's boyfriend. Really? What parent doesn't know the name of their children's dates? I'd like to know that. And why does the senior dance have to, why does the theme have to be socially conscious? I'd like to know that one. Who came up with that? And this is something I was pointing out earlier in this video. How do these ladies afford dinner after going to the movie and going shopping at the mall? In the same week, mind you. And nobody else noticed that Pike and Benny were drunk? Really? And how did Merrick get into the school? I'd like to know that one as well. Now, did Merrick think that Buffy would come with him to the graveyard when he told her all about this being the Slayer and the whole 9 yards? You know what Merrick should have done? He should have told her about the dreams that she was having before he mentioned the Slayer and everything else. Probably she would have been more willing to have gone to the graveyard had she heard about the dreams first. Okay? And why is the young lady in the parking lot alone? And let me ask you this while we're at it. Why did Lothos introduce himself before dealing with the young lady as vampires usually do? I mean, if you're going to be a vampire, why introduce yourself to a young lady first? And didn't Pike wonder how Benny got to the window in the first place? Why didn't Pike call the police the very second he saw Benny outside the window? And Buffy's parents didn't notice the dirt on her jacket? Really? Why did Pike have a guitar at his workplace? He had a lot of personal possessions at his workplace. Why? I'd like to know that one. Now, Pike put his van in reverse. Why didn't he keep his van in reverse until he got out of that situation completely? I'd like to know that. Now notice that Pike wasn't wearing a seatbelt in the van. How did Pike get out of that accident without one single injury? Think about that for a second. He's not wearing a seatbelt. He has an accident. He should have been flying with the guitar. Okay? Now, why would a vampire, a brand new vampire, go to the basketball game? Yes, I am well aware that this was a senior. He had been playing on the basketball team, but still, he's now a vampire. Why would he go to a basketball game and try to play? And while we're on the subject, why didn't the coach or anyone else at the basketball game notice that he was a vampire? Gee. Why was the gate to the Pasadena floats untouched? I mean, literally, you could just walk right in. How did that happen? I'd like to know that one. And why did Buffy have to perform so many gymnastics before attacking the vampire? This is the first time I'm going to ask that question. Did Merrick give Buffy a key to his house before he died? And did Merrick will his estate to Buffy? Very good questions. What are the odds of Pike finding Buffy on the street like that? He's riding his motorcycle and he just happens to stumble onto Buffy? Really? And wasn't the Slayer unmasked when Merrick died? Why did they bring that up 2 or 3 scenes later? Really? And why did Lothos suddenly want to dance? Was he a good dancer? Did he learn some ancient dance skills or something? None of that's ever explained. Why didn't Buffy leave the dance after she found out that Jeffrey broke up with her? If I'd have been Buffy, I'd just said, hey, kiss off and bye. No one noticed Pike entering the dance at all. Where's all the security at this staying dance? Really? And the new senior vampires. These were the seniors that got bit and they became vampires, okay? They enter the dance and they start dancing with their victims. Really? Is that what vampires do? Now, Jeffrey broke up with Buffy, and then later on, after the vampires started attacking, Then Jeffrey turns around and shows concern for her. Really? Why? Okay. And why did Buffy have to perform so many gymnastics just to get to the flagpole? Just run over there and get it. Anyway, do you see what I mean about being more observant when you're watching a movie or doing anything else for that matter? That's what this whole thing was all about. And I'm going to review more movies, and I'm going to ask more questions like this. And maybe when you watch your next movie or you do your next activity, you'll be a little more observant. That's what this was all about. Get you to think a little bit. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching this presentation. I hope you have a great week. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.